You're watching News 24 Live. It's Monday, the 4th of May. I'm joined in studio by our sports panel from Sport 24, editor Garen Lamley and chief writer Rob Howing to recap some of the highlights from the weekend on the sporting front. Gents, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
Hello, Nick.
Mayweather versus Pacquiao, did it live up to all the hype and expectation? Garen, I'm going to start with you. You said you watched the fight 3 times.
I did, not because I wanted to, just because Supersport kept on replaying it. But yeah, it perhaps wasn't the best fight I've ever seen. I sort of did expect it to go 12 rounds. I didn't see either boxer knocking the other one out. You know, I am a bit of a Mayweather fan. Forget what happens sort of outside the ring. He is, you know, one of the best of his era, of our generation, maybe one of the best boxers of all time. 48-0, not many boxers can boast an unblemished or undefeated record. And I think, you know, it was clear from early on that Pacquiao was struggling to hit him, basically, to catch up with him. He was ducking and diving, but yet still landing punches. And I think the final stats showed that Mayweather threw more punches, landed more punches, and therefore, you know, it was fairly convincing on the judges' score sheets.
Which wasn't expected because Pacquiao is a high-volume puncher.
In Pacquiao's previous fights, he's thrown up to 1,000 punches, which is quite unbelievable over the 12 rounds. I think this time he threw in the 400s. So well down on that. He did say afterwards that he had a left shoulder issue.
Yeah.
You know, it sounded like a little bit
is
of
that
a
just sort of sour grapes, or
it could have been. It wasn't obvious in the fight at all that he was favouring his left shoulder, or the judges didn't, or the commentators didn't make mention of anything noticeably wrong with him. He looked happy, he was smiling, taking selfies beforehand, dancing around in the ring. He didn't look like he was, you know, injured at all. But I think you know, as many boxing experts, both online, Twitter, in studio, said that you only find out how difficult it is to face Mayweather when you're in the ring with him, and 4 out of every 5 punches you throw actually miss, and you end up swinging wildly, landing nothing, and frustrates you. And Mayweather's just, you know, fantastic at winning rounds, and that's basically all boxing is about. He's got to do enough to win the round. The judges take note of that. You chalk one up, and then eventually the one judge gave 10 out of the 12 rounds to Mayweather. The other 2 both gave him 8. You know, I thought it was a bit closer than 10-2, but you know, 7-5, 8-4. I thought Mayweather was a clear winner, despite the crowd favouring Pacquiao and most of social media as well. I think Mayweather was just in a different class.
Speaking of social media, Rob, there's obviously in the wake of the fight been a lot of nonsense being thrown about and excuses and, you know, a bit more trash talk, etc. Mayweather saying that he might relinquish his belts. He's got one more fight, I believe, in September, which might not even be a title fight. So all this sort of talk in the wake of the fight. What else have you come across?
Yeah, you get all the extremes on social media, don't you? You get the pro Mayweather camp. You get a lot of people saying that he technically fought a brilliant bout. I'd say technically he fought a decent bout. I think he did enough to win. I wouldn't call it sort of the most majestic boxing bout I've ever seen. I think if anything, and that was also pointed out on social media quite correctly actually, was that we clearly saw evidence that this fight did come 5 or 6 years too late. That maybe the hype was just all too much. So much money being thrown around, so much hype for so long. Perhaps on the night it was just impossible for both of them to really sort of deliver a cracker. And what we instead got was something of a stalemate. I've always been a bit of a cynical character all along. I still think that I'm a bit of a sort of a yesteryear man, as I've got lots of yesteryears on my side. This just didn't seem to have quite the level of sort of almost hatred that you want to see in a boxing bout. You know, you want to see that real sort of a demonstration of real passion, and I don't think we got that. So I don't think it was good for boxing per se, because there was a lot of talk about this was the fight that might help to redefine boxing, show it a bright way ahead, or would it take boxing backwards a little bit and show that it's actually a bit of a sort of dying art form, and that aside from those people who could afford the tickets for this particular bout, it's actually going sort of in a sort of you know, southward direction, which would be a pity. So it left a little bit of a sort of a disappointing taste in my mouth for sure.
Do you foresee a rematch? I mean, what's next for these guys? And talking about the fight possibly happening 5 or 6 years too late, and talk of Pac-Man not being past his prime. Let's not forget that Mayweather is 2 years older than Pac-Man. So yeah. I mean, I think the playing fields were level either way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think either of them really has got a particularly long-term future. I think they'd be silly to go on. I think there's enough money in their respective wallets for them to really sort of call it a day, and for their heyday years to be remembered more than what happens as they sort of lumber on into a sort of a twilight phase that for so many boxers actually proves problematic and damages their legacy, if you like. I see this talk of, especially in the British press, of Amir Khan coming onto the radar for Floyd. I'd have to say good luck, Amir. I'm not sure that would really be the sort of super fight that some people would hope it might be. Yeah, we'll see in the next few weeks, I think, how these things sort of pan out. But my belief is that you should now see both of these guys sort of slowly heading to out into their sort of swan song phase with lots of money in the pocket.